Well, Primary 7, I've really missed you over this last year. I've missed coming into the school to be able to do the SU group on a Wednesday, and I've missed being able to invite all of you to come to the church for the end of term services, and particularly for your Primary 7 graduation. I'm really sorry for you guys that Primary 7 hasn't quite been the year that you might have been hoping for and expecting. But it's great you've been able to do so much this year, and you've still been able to do your school show, and you're getting the chance to go to Doonans. And with my dad hat on, I just want to say a big thank you to all the teachers and staff for making all of that possible and making Primary 7 as good as an experience as it could be, despite these strange circumstances just now. Primary 7, it's been really fun for me getting to know you from when you were just wee Primary 1s and watching you grow up to become confident Primary 7s and to be all ready to move up to high school. At this time of year, we always as a church give a gift to the Primary 7s of this book. It's called It's Your Move. It's produced by Scripture Union, and it's really a brilliant resource for you. It's full of lots of different stories and bits of information and advice about moving on up to high school. I know some of you will be really excited about moving to high school. Some of you are a wee bit nervous, and some of you are just far too cool to say how you're feeling. So over the summer holidays, I recommend that all of you, however you're feeling about high school, to take a wee bit of time to read through this little book, and I'm sure you'll find some interesting things in it. I spent quite a bit of time wondering what pearls of wisdom to share with you at this service as we remember all your achievements during primary school and as you prepare to move up to high school. And as I was thinking about what to say to you, a verse from the Bible popped into my head. It's a verse I first read and learned when I was probably about your age, and it comes from the book of Romans at chapter 12. The book of Romans was written by a man called Paul, who was a missionary, and he spent lots of his life telling people the good news about Jesus. And most of the book of Romans is all about the gospel of how it is we can become friends with God by trusting in Jesus because of God's amazing grace and love. But the verse I want to quote to you is from verse 12, chapter 12, verse 2. And it says this: "Do not let the world around you squeeze you into its mould." Don't let the world around you squeeze you into its mould. I don't know if you've ever made anything using a mould. You might have seen a jelly mould. You pour the hot jelly into it, and then you leave it to set, and then you turn it over and you pop it out onto the plate, and it comes out in that perfect jelly shape that you're looking for. Or you might have used a mould if you like crafts to make a pot, or maybe a cat or a rocket ship or something that you might want to paint. You might use some clay or some plaster of Paris, and you pour it into the mould until it sets. So you know the kind of thing I'm talking about. The idea is that whatever you put into that mould will eventually come out exactly the same. But that verse from Romans 12 says, don't let the world around you squeeze you into its mould. In other words, think for yourself and be yourself. Just because lots of other people are doing something, it doesn't mean that it's a good idea for you. And just because lots of other people in the world might think the same thing and tell you that you need to think that as well, think for yourself and learn to make good and wise choices. Primary 7, can I ask you to do something for me for a moment? Have a look at your hands. You see in the palms of your hands all those funny lines. And then if you look up to the ends of your fingers, you'll see those swirly patterns that we call our fingerprints. And you all know that your fingerprints are unique. That's why the police can use fingerprint evidence to catch criminals. So just be very careful what you're doing in the future. And that's why mobile phone companies have also developed fingerprint technology, which means that you can switch your phone on and off and lock it and unlock it using your fingerprints because they're unique. Over the next few years, as you go through teenage years and into adulthood, You will find yourself under pressure in lots of different situations. Pressure to conform, to be like other people. And when that happens, I'm going to suggest to you that you take a moment just to look at your fingers and to look at those unique fingerprints and remember that you are unique. There's nobody else in the world quite like you. So learn to think for yourself and not to let the world squeeze you into its mould. I'm not going to pretend that's an easy thing to do. I really found it hard when I went to high school myself. It's hard to swim in the opposite direction from everybody else. It's not an easy thing to do. But maybe if you're brave and if you have the courage to stand up sometimes and say, no, I'm going to do something different. I don't think this is a good idea. I'm going to think for myself. Then that will give other people the courage to do the same thing. It'd be great if you as teenagers can be the kind of people who shape the world rather than letting the world shape you. If there's one final piece of advice that I can give to you as you get ready to leave primary school and move up to high school, it's this. Be kind to one another. Be kind to your friends, obviously. That's quite an easy thing to do. But try your best to also be kind to those who maybe find it hard to make friends. Look out for one another as you go up to high school. Try to notice if other people are having a hard time and put an arm around their shoulder and ask how they're getting on. If you're kind to other people, sometimes that kindness rebounds for you, and you just never know when it might be that you'll need a friend and someone to stand with you and to support you. So I've just about finished giving you my pearls of wisdom as you get ready to leave primary school. But if you fell asleep and you zoned out, let me just recap the three things that we were saying. First of all, don't let the world around you squeeze you into its mould, but learn to think for yourself. Be yourself, because there's no one else in the world quite like you. Remember your unique fingerprints. And above all, be kind to one another and cheer each other on as you all try to be the very best that you can be. It's been great getting to know you, Primary 7, and I wish you all the very best for the future.